Darkened pathways, justice calls, fighting devils behind the walls. Torn families cry, pain it breeds, shatter the chains, meet the need. roars, tearing through lies. Caseworkers crumble, justice won't die. Corruption falls, truth takes its place. For the families lost in this wicked race. Judges blind, gavel in hand, spinning lies to bury the land. Children stolen, hearts ripped apart. Gonna fight with fire and heart. Turn the tide, break the strife, reclaim the stolen, ignite new life. Courage bleeds through the fear, Gunner's voice loud and clear. Roars, tearing through lies. Caseworkers crumble, justice won't die. Corruption falls, truth takes its place. For the families lost in this wicked race. Fists of fury, voices rise, expose the wicked wearing disguise. Families scream, but Gunner's there with a mission fierce beyond repair. Beyond repair.
Hey look, this for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on, but now it's war, this gun and foe, CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They breaking our hearts, been doing it for years. Now we riding with Gunner, and we got the proof. Sworn under oath, now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people, corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. The Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah. Wait.
Good evening, guys. Welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. I am your host, Gunner, and we have a special guest with us also, returning with us also this evening when he's ready, the CPS Punisher himself, Gunner. So we're going to cover a few things. One, a lot of news going on. I know you guys a lot are looking for the case and the letter and everything else and some explanation. We're going to go over some things, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. So we're going to move fast. I talk fast, yes. We've got a lot of things going. And don't forget, if you miss anything, give it about 24 hours or not even that usually. And on our YouTube channel, Gunning for CPS, we'll actually have the replay of this show. Make sure you go and like and follow on YouTube. That way, anytime that the show takes and comes up, you're going to get that information and that notification, especially when we have special announcements, so on and so forth. But we're also on Facebook under Gunning for, that's for CPS. You'll get some of the updates to there. And I know a lot of you guys follow me on my own personal page. So make sure you go and like those pages so you can get a lot of those updates, so on and so forth, and a lot of news as it comes up. Now, one thing I want to cover, especially being here in the East Tennessee area, is we had the hurricanes taking hit. That it was just really, really, really bad. And there was a recent discovery this week that, people in North Carolina and so on and so forth, with all the damage that was done and the damage CPS did, and there was no food and they couldn't get through and they couldn't find anything. Well, what we ended up finding is covering under the story is they actually found some of the supplies and everything that were supposed to come to Tennessee and North Carolina for that hurricane relief. And you know where they found it? Oh, look. Would you look at that? What's that say? Here, let's go in here. It was found FEMA relief packages that were in a storage location along the southern border by Biden. It was redirected. It was rerouted in 2024 from Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina, that they were sending it there to give it to illegals crossing the border. So those things for American citizens, those FEMA relief packages were rerouted down to the border. This is how corrupt the things that were going on that we're seeing, and a lot of things that are changing. Now, let's go back to the other thing that we come today. You guys have noticed also, if you look on the maps, you've seen a big change here in the past couple of weeks. You've seen the raising of 2 flags at the White House. And a lot of people don't understand what's going on. There's been a lot of symbolic things and so on and so forth. So we can break it down to you, and you guys can watch a lot of things, such as, the Queen taking the particular mark. It's a chess move as far as receiving the flag. That flag that was recently given to him was the surrender of the District of Columbia, that the corporation is dead, that we are now back under the original Constitution, and we are seeing some of those things come to fruition. Now, what we do, like I said, with some of those things, that's the bigger picture besides the CPS thing that's going on. This is all the crime syndicate. And you guys have, if you just listen a little bit, all the corruption and the money and recent people that have been indicted and going to jail and so on and so forth. It's just absolutely crazy. And they're starting on the bigger scale from up here. And this is where we are. See, we're down here, and so we're meeting them halfway when it comes to this case of saying, hey, listen, this is not a dictatorship or a totalitarianism type government. It's about we the people. And therefore, we must make our petitions and so forth heard. So we're going to take and go through a couple things, but we're going to educate you on a few things here, and we're going to get to the letter and everything else. Trust me, because there's a lot of conversation that has to go on with that. And we're going to deal with it in a Paul Harvey type of way. And I get some of you would say, well, if you've ever heard Paul Harvey actually take and speak as a news broadcaster, he would say, well, if I was the devil, I would do this. In other words, he's not instructing you to do this. He's saying, here's something to think about. So let's dig into it tonight. Here's another breaking story. And this one's going to flip you guys. Remember the story we broke about a week ago over in Ireland about the nuns and over 500 babies coming out of the septic system and everything else. And everybody goes, oh, well, that just happened somewhere else. Guys, this story is going to blow your mind. Check this out.
It certainly was not what we were expecting.
As construction crews worked on a new sidewalk along Decatur's Legacy Park last month, City Manager Andrea Arnold says they unearthed a shocking discovery.
We believed that we had found was some sort of burial vault.
Further testing that came back just this week confirmed the remains of at least 32 other burial sites, many of them belonging to children and infants. Before it was Legacy Park, the site was host to the United Methodist Children's Home and Orphanage in the late 1800s. The home, now relocated to Tucker, Georgia, and renamed Wellroot, is working closely with the city and the state to help. As for how the remains got there and who these people were,
we'll be working together to do that research to determine what exactly has been discovered here, and also to determine the best way to recognize and memorialize the people that are laid to rest here.
Guys, that's here in America, down in Georgia. An orphanage with babies, unwed mothers, and infants. Mass gravesite in Georgia. This has been going on for a long time, and now some of the truths and everything else. Yes, Canada. Thank you, John. Yeah, Canada just had this recently exposed as well. These orphanages and everything else of mass graves and everything else of children, babies. It's disgusting. Where were their families? Where was the love? Where was the compassion that some of these things, let alone, you'll notice those were connected to a religious organization. And that's the same thing that was going on here. And it's just blows my mind that nobody takes it and realizes this stuff is going on. And well, it doesn't happen in America. That's some third world country, or that's somebody that does something over Europe. No, this is happening right here in our back door. This is just Georgia. It's Canada. There's other places that they're going to start unburying this stuff all over the place, and the truth is going to come out. This is what they're doing because it's for profit. There was no money back then. They were coming off of contributions and everything else. Now there's money behind it, and that's why they want your kids so bad. And it just drives it crazy. Drives you nuts on what's going on and how disgusting it is that now it's done for profit, and there's still no compassion, nothing to do with the family, nothing about reunification, nothing about your culture, your history, or anything else to do with that. It's cultural genocide, and it's absolutely disgusting. And like I said, guys, we've got a lot to cover, and we're going to educate you a little bit here. I want you to listen to this next one here. This is somebody that actually has, there's this new app coming out where you actually have an attorney online. So if you ever have an issue with an attorney, you can pay, I think, a small fee. Hit this little button and this attorney pops up. So when you have a confrontation with law enforcement or anything else, they're your attorney. So it's a neat little thing of integrating some of the different things. But I want you to listen to this police officer use wordplay to try and violate the rights of somebody, while this attorney's just trying to tell him, no, unconstitutional. Well, I'm going to do this. This is abuse of authority. Check this one out.
His private property, so unless you have a search warrant, you don't have a right to enter his home.
Okay, we might agree to disagree on that point. We could get his permission to look for that specific style weapon, or we could apply for a search warrant. But first, we would probably do a protective sweep of the home to make sure there's nobody in there pointing a gun at us right now. I'm certainly good with the York County Regional Police Department. Are you his representing attorney?
Yes, I am. Yes, sir. So, Mr. Ward, you understand that they don't have a right to search your home without a warrant, correct?
I told them they cannot enter the house without a warrant.
Well, there's a difference between entering the house and doing a protective sweep. And we want to try to confirm whether there's somebody in the house with an extended magazine pistol that was waving it at people or not. To make sure there's not somebody in there pointing a gun at me right now. We want to be searching the house. We'll be first doing a protective sweep, making sure there's no other people in the house that would do us harm. Then after that, we would apply for a search warrant to search the house for evidence.
Yes, sir. But you understand that he doesn't have to give you permission to enter his home. It is his private property, so unless...
Did you hear the wordplay with the cop? Well, it's for our safety. You got to have a warrant. I do not give you permission. Well, there's a difference, and we can agree to disagree. That man right there should lose his job and be arrested. Bottom line, that's a violation of his oath. 100%. That is wordplay and jargon. Well, we're allowed to do this, and we're supposed to do it once again for safety. And we've all heard that with CPS, right? It's for the safety of the children. No, the Constitution is very clear. You must follow the rules. You must have probable cause with firsthand knowledge and or experience to get a warrant or the affidavit of truth to go with the warrant. So when they serve you the warrant, it's got to have the judge's signature on it. It's, or, you know, the judge's signature on it. You've got to have the court clerk's signature and the seal. And it comes with the affidavit of truth of who swore that they said they saw that. Otherwise, there's no warrant. It's not a legit warrant. That is 100% coercion and intimidation to come in. Well, for our safety, that's part of your damn job. That's why you've got bulletproof vests. That's why you've got all this training. That's got this and that. Once you get into a home, those four walls are protected by the Constitution. And that's 100% true, right, Rochelle? CPS or CASA is not worried about the child's safety. They just want to get in your home. They want to get into the home of even foster parents or kinship. That's why they go into, here's the beauty of how the money is connected with this stuff. They don't want to give it to kinship because the kinship can turn around and say, I'm not letting you in my house. You got a warrant of quarter and you can't deny that. I'm not a foster care person. I'm not contracting you for profit. That's why they go into foster care, because the foster care people go, sure, I'll let you in my house as much as you want. Here you go, because that's part of the contract. Stupid. And that's illegal to even have a contract like that. You're not open to the public. You are not a business entity. You got to have a structure. You got to have a business license for you to be able to do that. That's why you have orphanage. Those things apply to them, not to us. Now, and that's one of the things too. They're saying, well, I don't understand. Why do you say it? Now, this is something that came up in a good friend of ours on the Tiff and Punisher show. I think Tiff posted this. And you guys are going to this just takes and blows my mind. But this is stuff that's never been overturned. And I want you guys to watch this, because now you have to learn these things, okay? Because when you're going to get to the point of getting your kids back and making these demands, if you will, as a citizen for for what you're doing, you have to articulate your argument so they can't twist you up. Well, we're not going to do that. Well, this is something that's federal. They have no jurisdiction to even comment on it, nor do they have any say-so. A state has no say-so, none, in what is called the Federal Witness Protection Act. You need to go read that. And this is why. Oh, look. Everybody heard that thing about sovereigns and all this other stuff and this and that. It's talking about here's your case law, and even back to the 1800s, never been overturned. This one I love especially. Yick-Woo versus Hopkins, 118 U.S. 356 in 1886. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law. In other words, they can't take it away from you. For it is the author and the source of the law, because it's written by what? We the people. We the people are the government. You are the elected and appointed officials and actors. And that's where you have to watch what you say when you say, we're here to do it. No, you do not use the word government. That is a trickery word to get you arrested. I am going after, we are going after the institution that is what? It's the elected, appointed officials and actors that have done that. We, the people, are the government. While the sovereign powers are delegated, in other words, we're giving some of those things to the government officials, the appointed, elected officials and actors, Sovereignty itself remains with the people. In America, we the people, they're not the government that serves. They are, they are the state. We owe no allegiance to those. That's the whole point of this. They're public servants. They work for us. They're completing a task that we have set aside for them to take and do, but they're not doing it. Instead, you're getting what? You're getting, oh, well, I have the authority. I have the jurisdiction. No, you don't. A state can't even deal with you unless you contract with them willingly, knowingly, full disclosure of the contract. How many of you didn't have the contract and understand the contract? Or if there was a contract? Now, that's the thing, that's going on. But you guys have got to understand those things so you know how to talk about it, articulate it, and have those conversations with other people. But the biggest thing you can take and turn around and do is, this is something federal. The state has no say in it. You can't. To do so is a crime. And like I said, there's a lot going on all over the place, and that's why it's so hard to keep up. And we try to fit what we can in the amount of time that we have. Let's see here. But here, let's look at another one. This is the way of thinking. This is the type of thinking that crushed us as a nation, of totalitarianism and socialism that was being taught in this country. And it's going to blow your mind. And I want you to listen to this next little clip here. And this explains everything. And it's going to walk you through just as simple as can be.
Or a kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families, and recognize that kids belong to whole community.
There's no such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children.
These are our kids. They belong to all of us.
The children of the community are the children of the community.
This idea is put into action by the Marxist left in so many ways today. Children belong to their parents, not the state. Laws to alienate parents and attack their rights are becoming more and more common. Just look at Colorado. The House actually passed a law that could take away custody from a parent if they misgendered their child or called them by the name they were given at birth, so their real name, if the child had decided to change the name for whatever reason if they were transitioning. Luckily, because of so many protests, this law did get altered a little bit before actually going through, but there are a lot of examples in other states as well. California is an example. Washington State just passed a law making it legal for teachers to withhold information from parents, even in a situation of a crime being committed against the child by a student or by a teacher. And just think about all of the states that have laws that allow minors to have abortions or start taking gender transition steps without parental consent. In a lot of states, it is even difficult for a parent to homeschool their children. Attacks like this on parental rights are right in line with what Karl Marx advocated for. He supported this idea that children should be children of the state and of communities rather than their parents. And creating a rift between parents and their children was the goal, all on the road to the abolition of the family.
Guys, one, our Constitution is about individual liberties, not about the community or the whole. It's about the individual. That is very, very clear. Now, if you'll notice some of the things she turned around and said, how the school protects and not telling parents about certain things. If you're not familiar about what's going on here in Blount County, Tennessee, or what's recently been going on about all sorts of stuff, especially here, is how the school system has been protecting pedophiles, and let alone even some of the lower the courts and stuff that there was a teacher recently that had over the course of 20 years, I believe it was over 80 kids now, that was grooming them, touching them, so on and so forth, confessed to it, and was only given a sentence of 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, the record would be wiped clean and go back and do it again. Why? Because it makes CPS money. That's 80 cases now that CPS can now get involved and force their ways into families rather than letting them take and try and say, well, your child was abused. We know it was abused. Well, that's fine. It's a family matter. Let us deal with it. If we need your help, we'll come to you. Oh, no, you have to. That's what these families are being told, and that's money. Tons of money. I mean, it's not a joke. So that's one of the things that you've got to do, and you've got to educate yourself. And like I said, that's why you need to know how to talk, how to articulate, what to say, when to say it, so on and so forth, and understanding, to take away their power and authority, that I don't have to interact with you unless I want to. Any part of the state, police officers, that I refuse to. At the same time, you got to understand your Fifth Amendment right. I have the right not to incriminate myself or even talk to you. You heard that one with the cop where we're going to go in and we're going to sign, and then, for our safety and this and that, we've just got to know or get you to answer a question. Did you know that answering questions, according to federal case law, not my words, federal case law, and you can go look it up, that asking someone and questioning someone on private property, and you're seeing this happen over and over again, is a Fourth Amendment violation. Yeah. But all the videos we're showing them up at people's houses, talking to them, this, that. Out. No, you do not have a right. Well, we have a right to knock. Great. You can notify, unless I have it posted as no trespassing or anything else without a warrant, or you have the color purple put up, which is the same thing. Now, I'm going to show you another couple of videos, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes that you guys are looking for, and get in this, and then I'll get Darren to come out here, and we're going to have a few conversations. Let's see here. Check this one out.
This isn't going to go away until we can speak to you and your children and conduct a formal investigation. Okay, so if you'd like this to go away, it's not going to take a whole lot of time. Okay.
Coercion by a cop.
Eyes on who's ever listened to the report.
On a single matter.
I need to speak with you.
Okay, so let me hear the report this time, because they was just here yesterday. Go ahead.
The report is involving sexual abuse against Gregory and Georges.
Okay. And sexual abuse between my oldest child. You said my oldest child is abusing my youngest child.
No, you and the father are abusing them.
Me and the daddy are abusing our kids sexually.
Gregory and Georges are sisters.
My husband and our daughter, or my husband and I are sexually abusing my oldest child and my youngest and my only daughter. Okay, come on.
She's just a messenger.
I understand it. I understand. I'm not upset. I understand. Did I yell? Did I curse?
I'm just explaining.
I understand.
A lot of times people take it personally.
I'm not taking it personally. I understand. I understand. We can go to my backyard. My kids are outside.
You want to close? However, this isn't going to go away until.
Okay, this isn't going to go away till we speak. Well, okay. Have us come down to the station. You see where she had them questioned out on the public sidewalk? It's the only place that they're not supposed to go any further. Notify, knock on the door. We're here, not beating the hell out your door and everything else. You have to come. No. Fourth Amendment. And once again, we're here to do an investigation. Number one, I have the right not to participate in shit. That's your job. And that doesn't mean coming in my house. That doesn't mean questioning. You hear how they were trying to coerce their way into the house to talk to the children? Fourth Amendment violation of seizure. One, illegal entry. No warrant, no court order, and having a cop there to coerce on a civil matter. Are we here for a criminal matter? Well, good. Then you take them downtown and you question them. Hey, we'd like you to come down to the station. No, I'd like to have an attorney. Did they ever give her a right, even articulate she had a right to an attorney to exercise? Was she read her rights? No, I don't have to participate. That's your job. And this is where a lot of people got to learn to fight. I'm not going to engage with you. And it's called boundaries. You don't believe me? And if you want to understand more about boundaries, check out the show tomorrow night on Beauty and Ashes that Sharon, my better half, and she has a degree in psychology and early childhood development and tons of experience. She's going to talk about boundaries and circles and everything else and tell you about those things that when you establish those boundaries, you're going to hurt some feelings. And there's the biggest problem. We're afraid to hurt everybody's feelings. I'm the first one that's going to tell you, bye. Your feelings are your responsibility. There's the other thing I'll tell you. I don't care. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you think this. I don't care. That's your problem, not mine. I'm going to go on doing me. And that's the way we should all be. Mind your own damn business. But coercion to Fifth Amendment, no rights were read, anything else. That was so illegal of an interaction, it's not even funny, let alone, why are you coming to my home? Because they're trained together. They want in that home. Why? They want that data. They want to know what you have in the home. They want to this, that. Why? Because they're going to use it against you. Now that they're in there, they have firsthand knowledge. They have no reason to get into the home because they have a what? A report. Okay, is there a criminal investigation? Do you have a sworn affidavit that they've seen this happen? Or anything? Nope. Hate that for you. And there's a lot of courts that will railroad right over that and not care. That's what the president was talking about the administrative law judges. That's why he said the Chevron doctrine is dead. That's why he said SEC versus Jarsky, that you're got to have a trial by jury. It's called due process. You're not following on. These are so they're trained to do exactly what they're supposed to do, break the law. These are tons of examples over and over again. And his accusation, well, my neighbor, that's called a social credit system. You know where they do that? Communist China. Oh, wait, wasn't it just revealed that China interfered with the 2020 election through the one particular party? We are not China. We're America. We're the country that they fear behind every blade of grass. How dare you, let alone we would stick up for our families and everything else. Did I have a trial? Brad, yeah, I had a trial. Not a jury in sight. Not anything legal. No due process. No proper procedure. None of it. Nope. Because it didn't matter, Brad. That's what everybody's going through in these CPS cases. They're going to railroad you. Every bit of it. There's no legal due process. If something was done, let alone they're trying to have criminal court in civil court. That's illegal as hell. If you've got a criminal thing, you automatically have to have a jury. But when you've got falsifying evidence, once again, if you have something, let me give you an example. If you have a CPS worker that commits perjury and then involves your attorney and says, well, he told me I could do it, judge is supposed to stop. If there's anything in your case that is questionable, you're supposed to stop. The hearing cannot go on. You must have a separate hearing to determine whether or not it's done. But it's never, ever done. They roll over it. They have, you know why? Because the state, this is the whole point of where we're going with the lawsuit, is because the state has given permission to CPS with the state seal in all 50 states to coerce or force entry into your home. They are trained in a class called How to Gain Entry with Difficult Parents and law enforcement and difficult people as well. And law enforcement takes this classes. We know about it. We've even got the documents from one state talking about the conference they go to and make sure that they take this class. And your tax dollars, mine and your tax dollars and federal funds pay for this shit. That's treason and sedition to undermine the Constitution. That's what we filed. If you wondered if you've ever looked at our case, the stuff that we did a expedited subpoena was for the state to turn over the documents proving, even within their own documents, of these exact same things. Guys, that's treason and sedition. That's fraud upon the state. That's fraud upon the federal government. Those are serious, serious crimes. That's why they're scared crazy. And they know this is coming. You know how many people have reached out that are in politics or this? Is this true? Is this going on? Yeah, go look at the evidence. Print out the PDF that actually has the form with the sworn statement. We even highlight certain things in there and so on and so forth to tell you where it's at. We've got the books. They'll hand you the parents' right handbook that turns around and says what? We have a right to enter your home, and we have a right to question your children. Yep, even in the home. And your permission is not needed. They printed it. They literally put it in print. They have a right to violate your Fourth Amendment right with a state seal on it. That is the state giving up the constitutional rights of every single person in the state. That is an act of treason and sedition. Not by my definition, by the Constitution. That's why they're running scared. The game's over. Checkmate. And we've got it for all 50 states. That's why when we turn around and we tell you guys, well, who's some of the people? Pam Bondi's getting her on the stand. She's getting a subpoena. RFK's getting one. Why? He's Department of Health and Human Services. He's over all this stuff. That's under, you realize the president could end CPS and all CPS funding with a stroke of the pen? No more federal money. Gone. Could do away with the whole department because the Department of Health and Human Services has the Department of Children and Family Services. If you've got every state committing treason and sedition by obtaining and getting those monies, by breaking into people's house with a Fourth Amendment violation, this is where we talk about fruit from a poisonous tree. You commit a crime, then nothing else can be entered. So that's the same thing as a cop not reading you your rights or obtaining evidence like that cop was trying to, well, upon our sweep, we found the gun and then we're going to pick it up, but I don't need a warrant. No. Constitution says otherwise. Now, a lot of things that you turn around that people get into too many other people's business. Mind your own damn business. People will argue, and they have the right within certain states to discipline their children. How do you know the circumstance? Now, are they beating on their kids? Listen, I'm going to whoop my kid's butt hard and not the same as they took a turn around and didn't do what they were told versus they're chasing their brother or sister around with a knife. Yeah, punishment should fit the crime. That means a whooping. Don't you ever do that. You could kill somebody, but you got to make sure that you discipline them and then have a conversation with them. Why? Rationalize, hey, I disciplined you. But at the same time, I'm going to sit down and talk to you and explain to you why that was such a certain thing. And I'm not going to do it out of anger. I'm going to make sure I get my point across. And some kids are extremely hard-headed. But once again, you want some or more of that help with that? Go see Sharon. That's her particular thing. But at the same time, boys are raised different than girls. I'm sorry. They're two different things. They're two different things. And this whole thing is treating everybody as it. No. Because girls are brain chemistry is completely different than that of a boy. And that is psychologically been proven as fact. And that's what it comes down to. Now, guys, we've got another one up here. Let's see what we got here. We got one more video here, and then we'll talk about this. But this is, check this one out. Over here.
For me to record, but go ahead. Sir, do I have to answer any of your questions?
So what's going to happen
Sir,
is...
I'm talking to the gentleman.
And we're going to have to petition the court to remove these children if you're not willing to get them tested.
You're going to have to what?
I'm pretty sure you heard me, sir.
Please repeat that.
I said we will have to petition the court to get these kids tested. We're showing signs right now.
To remove the kids?
Yes, sir.
That's hilarious.
Methamphetamine and coke use around the children.
No. With what firsthand knowledge, lady?
You're hilarious. You are hilarious.
And questioning somebody on private property, right? There's a crime.
Either you can cooperate with us.
What do you mean by cooperate?
I'm pretty sure you know the definitions of cooperation.
Well, I want to know what your definition of cooperation is.
So you can participate in our investigation.
Participate? Am I required to?
I can contact my supervisor. And
that's fine.
We'll go that way.
Do whatever you have to do.
You have a great day. That is intimidation and coercion contract.
It was nice to meet you. Sir, thank you.
And we can give you example after example after example. Now, we're going to go through, let me see where I have that here. Darren, do you want to go ahead and pop in here? And I'm going to look for it here. Give me a second here. But what we're going to talk about is a little bit about this letter. Now, the letter's done. It's not been notarized or anything else. But the other thing that can flip them out when you got to understand, did you know that there are bonds in your case, that they actually take out bonds to make money off of it? And those forms are called SF-25A, which is called your payment bond, performance bond, and your bid bond, which is an SF-24. And then they can take out insurance against it on top of that, which is form SF-274 and SF-275. Do you realize by doing that, that is considered fraud upon the court because that's financial trafficking? And you can ask and demand the court to produce those?
Do you know that every felony is $7 million from your account? $7 million. So for every felony that they charge you with, they do what they call a true bill. And I know that a lot of you have gotten that. If you get indicted on a felony, especially, well, a felony is what you get indicted from, but you get what they call a true bill. And what that true bill is it's a way for them to start billing your straw man, your Social Security stuff, your trust fund stuff, all of that. Mm-hmm.
It's real, guys.
So the only thing the grand jury does is gets you and gets the courts to write that bill out, so that they say it's okay to open up your Social Security account and take that money. But this is why CPS hurries up and gets you that 72-hour hearing. That 72-hour hearing is when they start writing the checks. They need that judge to adjudicate and say that it's like the game is afoot. Now we can start getting federal funds. We've gone in front of a judge. The judge said that there was a problem. Now let's get the money, because up until that point, they've only been receiving, whatever their base amounts are. So that's why they hurry up. The one thing that they'll be sure to be at and on time of is that 72-hour hearing. So they need that money.
You ever notice why CPS asks for your Social Security number? That's why. For you, your kids, both parents. They're going to take out a bond.
Credit reports. Does everybody check their credit reports and see that somehow CPS, DHS, something along those letters are in there checking your credit reports? Why are they checking your credit reports?
That's funny you mentioned that, Darren, because I had a thing for child support, and I've never had child support taken out ever. I mean, I had a private contract with my first marriage that ended, and part of that agreement within there was a private contract signed by a judge. But they still, to this day, Tennessee child support still has a thing on my credit report. That's fraud. That's credit fraud. I never had a contract with them.
Right. You were too young to sign that. You didn't sign that, and
no.
I forget. I was right at the tip of my tongue.
For the kids and everything else, like with my son, he was almost 18. We'll say, my ex tried to take me to child support court and everything. Well, he hasn't done this, and he hasn't. No, that's not true. Before the magistrate and the child support person, actually, I have a private contract, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. If I have a private contract with somebody, the state cannot interfere with that private contract unless I take and violate the terms of that contract. Mm-hmm. And turn around and ask the guy, I go, no, I've been paying X amount of dollars, this and that, every month. And this is the way it was set up per kid. And it's in the divorce contract. And it's in there. And that's what it gets. The state doesn't get to play with that number. We had a private agreement. And it's signed by a judge, making it totally legally binding. Mm-hmm. And when they find out that, and I told them, all of a sudden they're like, and they asked, well, has he ever missed a payment? And she goes, nope. I said, nope, I've got transactions and checks for every single time that was paid and where she cashed every single one of them. Yeah, guess who's getting sued now? That's fraud upon the court. Even filing it, let alone them trying to force me into it. Even when I asked the judge, I said, Your Honor, do you want to hear some case law or some facts about the? Nope. You know what? The magistrate. Nope. We're here to see how much you're going to pay today because it was done via Zoom. Wow, really? So I get no say in this, and it goes through like a roller coaster. And little Mr. CPS child support with his little bow tie, oh Poindexter. And when I said those words, matter of fact, we had a private contract and everything. Boy, you talk about backpedaling. Go, we don't know what to do, Your Honor. We've never had to deal with that, but I had to articulate it. People don't know that if you can't verbally articulate what you're trying to say, you're going to lose that argument. But when you go in and you're confident and you're research and you know what to say and you know how to say it and what to do about those things and how to have that conversation, they don't have a clue. And that's part of what we're going to go over a little bit tonight. Now, we have to get this, as some of you guys know, both Sharon and I live in two different places, and she comes into town every once in a while. We have to sign this letter, and we have to have it notarized, making it a legally binding document. But we're going to share the final draft with you here tonight and go over some conversation with saying, and Darren, let's have this conversation this way, as I say, like old Pearl Harvey. If I were the devil, as if you guys have ever heard that, if I were a person involved in this federal case as a affiant, these are some of the things I would do. And that is the conversation we're going to have moving forward. Okay. I'm not giving you legal advice. We're not giving you legal advice. We are educating you, saying that if this were to happen to me, or if I was in that position, I would take and handle it this way and how to articulate. But let's let's see here. And here we go, folks. I believe you guys can see that. Where'd it go? Where am I at? There we are. Okay, here we go. Dear affiant, I'm not an attorney. Nothing in this legal advice, consult qualified thing, or U.S. Marshal Service or the U.S. Attorney's Office before acting. In other words, if you feel threatened or anything else and stuff like this, and you feel that something is not afoot, then it's you. And if I were a person that I have filled this out not only for myself, husband, wife, but also one for each of the children, which you can legally do your research. They now are considered federal witnesses. And the ones and the reason what this is a victim's affidavit, and what you are saying within this affidavit that you have provided, the way it is structured, is that your state and its actors have colluded to violate constitutional rights to take your children and commit certain things. And you'll see it comes through here. But let's go over this. And I'm going to take and remove this chat from the screen so you guys can see this a little bit better, because that overlay. Okay. Thank you for your extraordinary bravery in providing an affidavit support. And here's the federal case number, which addresses concerns about systematic unconstitutional practices across all 50 states. Now you're saying, well, this is a class action. No, we are proving that our state, the state of Tennessee, is part of a national child trafficking ring, and all other states are doing the same things, and they're sending them across state lines. This is very well documented. It's not, there's people that, hey, my kid was shipped here and here, and let alone we have already tracked it down to even knowing that one of the major hubs is actually in a certain place here in Tennessee. We're not going to disclose all that information because we're going to give them a great big old surprise when we go into court for some of these things. But let's continue. Your willingness to share your experiences regarding what we believe are unconstitutional actions, such as unwarranted removal of a child without criminal charges. What are you talking about? Well, we're going to deal with that here in a little bit. In other words, there's no criminal charges. These are civil. Can't do it. Illegal.
Why are the cops there then?
Well, yeah, where's the cops? Where's the handcuffs?
Why are they there? If this is a civil matter, if this is a civil matter, right? If this is a civil matter, then what business do they have doing at any of these things? Because if you and your wife got into a fight and they showed up and you guys were saying, well, I'm going to take my kid, and she's going to say, I'm going to take my kid. They're going to say, listen, you guys, you got to go to the courts. We can't decide this for you. This is a civil matter. So what the hell are the police doing there when CPS has them come if it's a civil matter?
Because the police have been told to stand down as far as doing anything with them and to aid them where they feel needed. illegally. Now, in other words, they don't have a right to it. But let's go further into it. Training caseworkers to force or coerce their way into the homes without warrants or legal court orders. Fourth Amendment violation. That's where, in other words, if I have a thing, and I'll get into that argument, well, this doesn't apply to us. Well, Your Honor, if I had a case like that and they entered my home with no court order or warrant, which they did, produce the warrant or legal order that is still not on the case record. It's not. And if you can't provide this, Your Honor, then yes, this does apply to you. And it's right there in front of your face. What do you mean? The CPS worker in his or her report says they entered the home and all this other stuff in the report you received, and that's evidence in front of you, is it not, Your Honor? Yes. Do you not have an obligation under the law and under your oath to know the law? Yes. Your Honor, that's a Fourth Amendment violation. If it doesn't exist, that's an illegal entry, and fruit from a poisonous tree applies. Therefore, Your Honor, you should have known this, but you allowed it to happen. So now you're complicit in the crime, which is why I'm testifying against you, against the state, and against all the actors, including CPS and you, Your Honor. This is how you get the judges and the magistrates. Prove it to me right now, then. Because if not, it's fruit from a poisonous tree, and you've continued down with this court case. Oh, now the judges, and you've put it on the record if you have an open case. Now, let's go on. And due process violations, including the failure to apply fruit from a poisonous tree doctrine. There it is. In other words, you can't commit a crime and then go forward with the case, which is happening over and over and over again. Illegal entry, questioning on private property. There is federal case law, Your Honor. You're supposed to know this. If not, that's called ineffective judiciary. You shouldn't be sitting on the bench. Oh, wow. Let's go on. This letter and affidavit are not to be transferred or copied to other individuals except those directly affecting you to help safeguard your privacy. You're going to hold on to this letter once it's done with your sworn affidavits as proof that you will give if you run into trouble. You can go to the U.S. Marshal's office that enforces this stuff and contact them going, here, we are part of this case, this and that, and it's against them. And they are now tampering and or intimidating us to do something. Now, the Chevron doctrine has been overturned. In other words, they don't get discretion to do what they want and run amok. And it was found to be unconstitutional when it was overturned. In other words, the crap they've been doing, calling ourselves professionals and going on and doing what they wanted to do, including violating the Constitution, is not permitted. And the ruling in SEC versus Jarsky 2024, well, you've seen that on previous shows, and even President of the United States has called this out. Remember that letter he sent out about, and I know Darren knows, about the one about the administrative law judges doing the unconstitutional stuff? Didn't he quote those two right in that letter? Yeah. Unconstitutional practices. This is what we're talking about. You're calling them out now. Section 242 of Title 18 of the U.S. Code addresses certain civil rights violations which may relate to the issues raised, including the removal of children without a criminal charge. Oh, wait, there's case law. You could say, Your Honor, there's no case law. If I had one and you've taken my kids, Your Honor, where's the criminal charges? We're in civil court. Troxel versus Granville says that's a crime if you've taken them. Oh, crap. And it protects your parental rights absent as compelled the state's interest. Information about the Witness Protection Act does exist. It's a real thing. And the states have no say in whether they can follow it or not. Because I guarantee you call the Federal Marshal's Department, they're going to call up the U.S. Attorney's Office and go, hey, we got a problem with a federal witness. Is there a case number and this and that? And how are they articulated? They are being intimidated and or coerced to not testify or change their testimony. That's up to you to fill in the blanks right there. But keep it simple and sweet is the way, if I had a case like that, that's the way I would handle it. But specific actions, it's all upon their discretion on whether it is or whether it's not. If they're saying, No, it's not. Yes, it is. Whatever. That is up to them. But I guarantee you, you start turning these in and you start saying, I didn't commit a crime. Give me my kid back. Well, this is the other thing that we've taken. Now, the other part you can probably attach to this, and I think Darren would agree, is a void ab initio. That would be something voiding all of your written agreements or any other things that you're withdrawing, all written consent and or verbal consent that you have done up to this time, and you're taking it back and nullifying any contracts because they didn't do that. Now, when they start doing that, well, you can't do that. Start asking them about their bonds and everything that they're making money off of. All of a sudden, you're going to watch a judge go, whoa, wait a minute. They know too much. You know about those things? Oh, yeah, I'm going to get copies of it under a FOIA request. And I'm going to file against those. And I'm going to file against your bonds because this is illegal. And you now have a vested interest. It goes deeper than that child support thing that they were talking about, boys and girls. Big time. Should you encounter retaliation, threats, harassments from state actors, including local police, CPS, DCS, judges, magistrates, consider reporting them to them. Sometimes you can talk to them and put them in their place, and they're going to back the hell off. Go ahead, I'll call you a federal marshal, and that's federal charges. You know what happens to you? You automatically lose your job for federal witness tampering. You don't go back. It's a serious criminal charge. Federal witness tampering is, what is it, Darren, a class C or B felony?
I think it might even be A in some situations, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah. Well, it depends, I think, on the severity of the crime. Once again, this says, keep this for your records. This is your evidence, to come in here with your sworn affidavits. Look, here's mine. Here's the kids'. We're both in this case. Whether I get up on the stand or these affidavits are turned over as just as evidence. In other words, the same thing as you testifying in court as truth and matter, that we don't have to have all of that. That's the same thing a lot of these other groups are doing, is turn in your sworn affidavits because they're as good as you testifying in court. We've heard that across the board for a long time, but where does it go? Nowhere. Who offers this kind of protection for federal witness? Nobody. This is the difference between what we're doing, that's something real and tangible, compared to the bullshit everybody else is putting out. And I know we're trying to watch a lot of our language and everything else, but it's absolute. I'm tired of seeing people crush, Darren.
Yeah.
Well, I'm dead serious. This is, people get their hopes up and then all of a sudden, well, they wouldn't let us and they wouldn't do this and they wouldn't do that.
Yeah. It's like we talk about it all the time, right? Like, you can't take advantage of these people. You can't give these people that have been affected by CPS, you cannot give them false hopes and walk them down, because we're all already on the verge of doing not so good things, I think, at given points in our lives because of what's happened to us. So to give someone a false hope and drag them down this train and make them fall off at the end because that's a shitty thing to do. We're not doing that, man. We're driving the train right through the fucking train station, right into the Capitol building. Exactly. And that's where it's going to go. So
this is a for real case that has grit, teeth, and everything. Darren's looked at it, knows everything about the ins and outs of it. The very filing itself shows treason and sedition by their own damn paperwork. We've got Tennessee. If you go back and look at some of the things, and you follow me enough, or you've done stuff when I first got with Dallas very early on, we released all 50 states with all that evidence. Guess what? We turned that over to the FBI. You don't think we're working part of this whole thing? They don't know what's going on? Oh, they know exactly what I'm doing over here. They're just waiting. Hey, go ahead. Do you think Trump likes CPS? Do you think he likes those judges and everything else? He's already made it very public. No. But how do I get rid of it? Well, guess what, Mr. President? We're going to hand you a silver platter with all of it. And here's the thing. It's all constitutional. There's no room for interpretation because it's absolute. And it's the supremacy clause. You can't change it, can you, the state? You can't wiggle around it. You can't dance around it. You can't poop around it. I mean, it's like, you just can't.
Right? Checkmate, as they say.
That's why,
What is
I
that?
put out
I don't
that
know. You know what? What is that? I don't want to go off subject here, but I know that there's been a lot of that talk, like those moves that Ivana Trump made, and it looked like checkmate. The queen goes before the king, and what is that all? What is that all? That's referring to them just stating that they're saying that they won. Is that what that's?
No, that is there. When if you understand different things with check, a king cannot checkmate anything. A king can't. A king can't checkmate anything. It's always done by other pieces, whether it's by the rook, by the knight, by the bishops, by the even the pawns can do checkmate, but the queen. And the queen standing in front of the king is a particular move to protect the king from all different angles. You can't get at the king. In other words, there's no way that the queen can't stand in front and or block anything. And the idea is they're not the one doing it. And it was funny. It's almost an arrogant in some ways, but it's a very bold statement to do it. Is to turn around and go ahead. The queen's right there. I dare you. That's exactly what that is. It's just saying, I'm coming after you. And she's looking at you. You think it's him. See, that's the funny thing I think about this too, is we have a lot of similarities. Is most of you guys see me and my big mouth and my attitude and everything else, and Darren knows what I'm talking about. But the person you don't see that you really should watch out for is my wife, Sharon. She is dangerous.
And that's so right.
She's quiet. Ooh. Oh yeah. And that's
like
like
the old saying that you don't wear the pants in the family. Come on, we all know that if you've got yourself a good solid woman, guys, then you know damn well what I'm talking about. She's she's the one that handles the business. When it gets down to the nitty gritty and you got yourself a damn good woman, she's the one that jumps in there and she's like, "No, I got this. You go sit down, honey."
She can handle her own. She don't. It's one of those things. I don't need a man. Truly, they don't. But they appreciate a man for what they do and how they do, and they also understand the roles of everything else. Oh, too late, baby. That's Beauty and Ashes, guys. That's Sharon. So yeah, and everybody loves Sharon. Sam loves Sharon. Chris, they all love Sharon. Listen, but you get her going, and she gets going down rabbit holes and everything. We used it. One of our best times we ever had, Darren, was sitting over here. Remember, I told you about that corner of the couch. She would sit there. I sit here. And we would go down rabbit holes in some of the most, whether it was legal, psychological, historical, and just kick it out and bounce it around and just look at it and even come back to it and go, what do you think? And then turn around. Because, in the very beginning, she was raised with a lot of purity culture and a lot of church and everything else. I go, oh, you've got so much to learn. And she's like, what do you mean? And so you open the door to some of that stuff. It's like, oh yeah. Now she grew up in the wine country of California, to where she was around a lot of those, or knew a lot of those very famous cult families and kids. You know what I'm talking about in California, Northern California. She knew them. They didn't really, but there were homeschool groups and everything else. But once again, her dad was military. So, I mean, it was common for them to, if they had to move or anything else, it was just, easier to do homeschool.
Right.
But when it talks about the president and all these chess moves, yes, he's a chess master. And whether he knows it or not, I've played against him a couple times online way back when, which is really cool. I've enjoyed chess all my life as well.
Herbert plays chess online too.
Yeah. And I love it. And let alone you up it, instead of a flat platform, you start getting into these multi-dimensional boards and some of the other things. And they even get themes of Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings and some of the other. I mean, they've got some really beautiful pieces. But the power move of the queen standing in front of us saying, there's not a chance in hell. Now even if you've taken all the other pieces off the board, and it's a king, between the king and the queen alone, they can't put you in check. But a king can make sure you can't move this way, one move at a time. But that queen has full range of the board to go any direction, whatever she wants. And whether you know it or not, she's got you. And at the same time, she has a connection with a lot of stuff in Europe. If a lot of you don't know about Melania Trump, there's a whole lot of stuff there, man.
She's not just some nobody, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
And everybody, she's this and that. Listen, that woman will slit your throat and cut your head off and put it on a post and not think twice, and then pretty herself up and just go have dinner. And she's not afraid to do it. They are warriors, but they are very feminine lady warriors. You got to understand, you don't have to be a type warrior to be that, but women can have a class about it that a lot of men just don't have. That, you know, that what's the word I'm looking for? The fine, you know what I'm saying? The FINE type thing that would go like, damn, she just took and slit somebody's damn throat and then sat down, wiped off the knife, put it down, and just went back to drinking tea like it was nothing and reading her book. Like, damn, you know, that type of woman. That's what I'm talking about when I say something about Sharon or anything else. That's great. And I know Darren's got the same thing going on with Miss Mary and a few other people that we know. But, you know, damn, they have a grace when they do it. And God, don't you miss the grace of the women that were from the 40s and 50s, even in the movies and stuff, that just had a sense of grace to them? I mean, even when they moved or how they talked or anything else. And that just blows my mind, you know. I'm losing you. You lost your sound, Darren. You lost your sound. I don't know what happened. I think your battery went dead again. Yep. No light. No love. No light. But listen, she's the other half of that mental health support and everything else to go, yeah, we're good. To have that balance that we need. When we talk about that, not only just that, she's my peace. When you took her away, oh, you unleashed a hell and a war that you have no clue what you're getting ready to face. And that's what scares, like, oh no, you took that away from me. You took the one thing I wanted, which was my peace, away from that. And so I think these parents beginning to fight and now demanding their kids home, of just saying, look, and unless there's a criminal act, get my kid home. If not, I'm calling the feds. There's not been a crime, because then you're going to have to articulate it to a U.S. Marshal. Then you're going to have to articulate it to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And you're going to be able to articulate those case laws and everything else and going, do you have a crime on me? Nope. Well, then you have a problem, because now that's exactly why I'm testifying against you, is because of just this. Guess what? Now you're on the radar, because if stuff like that happens, they're going to make themselves known. Like, they're going to be that stupid to put their hand up and go, yeah, I broke the law. Wait a minute. What? Yeah. I think you lost your battery again. I lost your voice again. But see, that's what I'm talking about, guys, is they're going to snitch on themselves when this stuff happens. Produce the warrant. There's an illegal entry. Did you address that at all? And in my case, this does apply, and it does affect you and everything else. This is why you're in federal. This is how much trouble you're in. Now you can't talk to me. You can't deal with my child's a witness against you. Now we've got a problem. I'm nullifying that, and that's where, and I think, what do you think, Darren? Maybe Monday night, kind of go over again and revisit Monday night on the Tiff and Punisher show with Boyd Ab Initio again. I think it's a good time to cover it again. Yeah, guys, check out the Tiff and Punisher show. That's on, I think it's about 7:30 on the YouTube channel, on the CPS Breaking News Network. It usually shows on my channel too. If you guys are following my channel, we rebroadcast the Tiff and Punisher show. But learn about that, and a lot of these state courts are ignoring that, of going, well, guess what? Now there's some authority behind it, because now I can pick up the phone and I'll call the feds. And you're going to have to admit to the crime, because here's the problem. And especially if you put it on the record, I told you there was no illegal entry. And if I don't need to tell you, Your Honor, look at the CPS report. It said it entered my home. Where's the warrant of court order? You didn't catch that, Your Honor? Oh, that's dereliction of duty. Uh-oh, you just admitted to a crime. That's exactly what I'm doing against you. Now all of a sudden it's, we're in trouble, guys. What are we going to do? There's nothing. We can't touch them. We can't intimidate them with the cops. We can't intimidate them with another lawsuit. We can't go near them. They're federally protected. And if we do, they give instruction to their family and everything else. Like, say, if I had a case and I was doing that, I'd make sure my family and everything else would know, hey, if I disappear for a period of time or they think I'm up at the jail or anything like that or something happens to me, call the feds. Call the U.S. Marshals, say, I've been missing for so long and I'm part of a federal witness program, and have copies of that letter with that case number. They're a federal witness in this particular case against the state and all of its actors for treason, for exactly this. And it's listed through there. What pertains to you, we kind of give you a rough coverage of illegal entry for the Fourth Amendment violations, due process violations, fruit from a poisonous tree, even going down to, hey, I had a trial, but I didn't have a jury. You know, that's a huge, that's why I'm taking and testifying against you. You should have done this. And, you know, I think we covered that before in another show where it turned around and said that the judge is supposed to know the law. The judges and magistrates are required to know the law. If not, it's an insult to the law itself that the law has a fallacy of ignorance. And that doesn't exist. That would be an insult to the law, which is why the process of going through and being appointed is more, it should be more than just a good old boy system and doing this to make sure they're qualified. Do they take a test? Are you going to stand up for policies and procedures? Or are you going to do something constitutional? Well, why do you think Trump took and had that conversation and had that thing? I want these people. I just don't know what to get. I don't know how to get after these administrative law judges. I know it's unconstitutional. We just can't figure out what to do. We don't like CPS, but hey, we don't know exactly what to do. Well, guess what, Mr. President? We're coming, and we're going to give you everything you need to abolish all of it. With people that have been trafficked all their life, even all the way going back to Rebecca's house and Mary's house and a couple of those other things. We've got those witnesses talking about how they were trafficked from Illinois to Texas, and from this one to here and this and there, and another one up to Montana. There's another one we know about from South Carolina going all the way to Montana. They're not supposed to leave the damn state. If you have custody of it, and here's the other thing Tennessee's got a real problem with. People, under their own constitution, people are not property of the state. Funny, you ought to tell that one to CPS, because they steal kids all the time, making them wards and everything of the state. They're not supposed to own a person. That's slavery. I didn't say it. The Constitution defined it. The federal code and the federal case law has done that. You don't believe me? Go look it up yourself. So this is the thing to make the kids home, but you got to understand, you have to know how to articulate your argument with what has happened to you in your case. I'm turning this in, give me my kid back. Here's a void ab initio, here's all, I don't care if it's in foster care. Give me my kid back, because if not, I'm calling the federal marshals. You have 72 hours to remove them. Why? If not, I'm having that and the foster parent and anybody else is that, because that's kidnapping. Now we've got a problem. You are now messing with a federal witness. You are intimidating, coercion. Why? They're not in my custody. I don't know what you're telling them, and you have no right to have them. Have I committed a crime? Nope. Give me my kids back, because here's the case law right in here. Here's the case law. Have I committed a crime? Yes or no? Well, you've done. No. Have I committed a crime? Yes or no? I've not been indicted. Listen, this is how you determine the difference between federal or between criminal and civil. For a criminal thing, you must be indicted. And that indictment must be done. The second thing that should be done is you have to have an arrest warrant put out for you after that indictment. Then you're brought down. Then you're brought before the magistrate, and then you're to be bonded out. Did you know you're not even supposed to be arrested without being indicted? But how many of you have been arrested? You're under arrest. You have the right to remain. There was no indictment. I think it's funny, and this is how many people they play off of people's ignorance. Well, I'm the law. I'm not. Did you hear how many videos did we play? I mean, crazy, Darren. That every single one of them, law enforcement, this and that. They don't even know what the hell they're doing. You don't have a right to open. Well, there's a difference between getting a warrant and search and seizure and all that other stuff versus for my protection. Boy, he learned that one right out of the CPS handbook, didn't he? Same training center, same training. And we've got the documents and everything else to prove it. There's going to be the problem. That's why they're scared. They know this is coming to an end. That's why they're getting so bold lately with everything. Get us as many kids as we can, everything else. Listen, man, if this system works so good, why did RFK say CPS? Who do you think he got those kids from? CPS, over 500,000 kids and higher missing, cannot be accounted for. That's not a joke. And that is not listen, I would much rather a kid be in something because listen, we can overcome as human beings. I would much rather, and this is a sad thing to say, but I'm going to say it. It would be better off for a child to be raised in a home that was abused in some way, not sexually, but physically or anything else. Why? Because I'm Gen X and we got the shit beat out of us and we still survived. We still made it. Okay. It's called overcoming. It's a life skill that we're not taught anymore, but it's better to do that than to remove them from the home, put them with strangers, and be trafficked as sex agents any damn day of the week. I would take a beating every day over being raped and incest and molested every damn day. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. There's no compromise with that. When it comes to one or the other, the lesser of two evils, I'll take the damn beatings, Darren. You beat the fuck out of me. You can punch the shit out of me. I give black eye, everything else. But I sure as hell am not going to take and stand for somebody sexually abusing somebody like that. Hell.
Are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely not, man.
I mean, dude, I used to get the shit beat out of me. My stepdad wore the fuck out of me. I mean, I say that because it was that bad, with a belt and out of anger, and just tear me up like a slave on slave trade day. With my backs where I had whelps and cuts and everything else. I can't even tell you, until it got to a point my grandfather figured out what was going on and stood up. It took a man to stop another man, not a system. And once that happened, you know what happened after that? It never happened again.
No. Once you
because
stand up,
men were holding men accountable. Told him straight up, you touch him again, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
He stopped, moved out, the whole 9 yards and everything else, and went on about my life and went on. Is that a sad part of my life? Yeah, great. But I'm not going to whine about it. I'm an overcomer. Is that part of my? Yeah, I went through it. But at the same time, I grew from it. I learned from it. But I also made sure that I learned from it, especially when I raised my children, that I never took and struck my children in anger. And I always made sure I had the conversation after of why they got disciplined the way they did.
Yep.
This is why. You're going to kill somebody. You're going to hurt somebody. We don't do that. And a lot has changed even in my time. Like I said, even getting married to Sharon, she was a little eccentric because she used a lot of, we had names for sexual parts of children. They're bugs, they're this, they're that, they're, this, and, other things, brownies and all these other different things. They're twig and berries and all sorts of other stuff. No, Sharon just comes out, and especially they know the anatomical parts. Well, that's my penis. And you'll hear it's funny because, she's got special needs kids that turn around. So-and-so hit my penis. Did you hit his penis? Well, no, not really. He did it by accident. He was swinging his arms, but they'll use the words. I'm looking over at her. I'm like, what the hell's the matter with damn kids? And she's like, yeah, I've never heard that stuff. She goes, well, And here's the other thing. She brought it up with facts too. Listen, guys, that even the National Pediatric Society recommends teaching your children anatomically correct terms because it tends to stop issues with sexual predators, because it's a big person word and it will shut something off. And there's studies done on it that it actually works. And let alone it's clear to clearly articulate some of those things when certain things did happen. They have words, which is funny, as you know, with a lot of things, because CPS will go, well, they do this or they do, and that they twisted that even with stuff that was going on too. Even with Sharon, I turned around, well, they know a whole lot of words and this, that, that's a little bit of this. She goes, I taught them that. And they're like, wait, what? Yeah, matter of fact, the National Pediatric, they tried to use that against her. I'm doing what the National Pediatric Society says to do, but you're telling me that that's a form of trying to twist it as a form of abuse and everything else? And she's like, no. That's by the doctors, and all of them will tell you, number one, do you have a license to practice anything but being a piece of crap? Nope. Right. You got a license to steal children and destroy families. Those are considered, you know, healers and doctors. Is that you're practicing medicine without a license? That's a criminal act. Who are you? Do you have a degree in psychology? Well, I have one in this and this and that, but do you use it? Except for following the line? There's no free thinking with this stuff, because no two people are the damn same. I mean, Darren, I've raised 3 kids. 3 kids are completely different. No two are the damn same. None of them similar on any damn thing.
Right.
They're all unique. And that goes for everything. So when CPS comes with all this BS that, you know, your kids are to fit in the shoebox mentality, is the biggest load of psychological babble and garbage that is just horseshit. And I'm sorry, that's what it is. It's full manure right out in the field. It is.
Yeah.
Because you know, that's like saying one poop pile is like another poop pile. No, poop piles are the damn same. Go out in the field and find me 2 same that are exactly the same. It's not going to happen. But they want to cutter all these kids and everything else and shove them through a system. Well, this is wrong with you. This is wrong with you. And then they get into some of their treatments, and it does even more damage. Well, we know this has happened. There's no proof, and you're putting these kids through these classes and some of these therapies, putting the mind in it. Well, we know it's happened. I mean, that was the whole thing that I think that was funny that Sharon turned around, is they were constantly trying to push, well, we know this has happened. There, you know, there was nothing. You were guilty. There was no way around. You're guilty. That's just the way it is. And that's the way it proceeded all the way through, with somebody's opinion. They didn't sit on a jury. They didn't sit on anything else, nor did they have the right to it. This is why we have a jury and due process. Prove it. Prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the criminal side of it. Other than that, it's suggestions and piss off. I mean, I don't know what to tell people, but you've got to learn to argue. If he didn't come in the house, prove it. If you didn't follow fruit from a poisonous tree, prove it. Because here's where it started. You started by breaking the law when you illegally entered my house. That is an automatic under fruit of a poisonous tree. This case is dismissed before it even got started. Your Honor, you should see the evidence is in front of you. You're the judge. Do your damn job. You're the magistrate. What do you mean? It's right there in the CPS report. It says they've entered the home. They've looked through your cabinets. They've seen whether or not you've had weapons. All that stuff's on their little check sheet. And you heard the lady before in the video. If you just cooperate, and if you don't cooperate, well, I'm going to tell my supervisor, and then we're going to go to the judge and do what? Lie? You've got no firsthand experience. It's all hearsay. Hearsay is not admissible in any courtroom. None. Prove it. And I think that's where we, I love about the show and love about what we do here is giving that education and that knowledge to everybody to where it's like, oh, wait. And you get some people, it's like, here, do this for me, here, do this for me at the same time. I'm not going to be there when you have to defend your children. Get it? You better figure it out and quit asking everybody to do something for you. And as I say, wipe your own butt. Educate yourself. Quit asking everybody to do something for you, or I don't know stuff. Figure it out. Because if not, they're going to take them. And they're going to keep coming after you because you're not educated. That is the failure, yes, of our Department of Education. Because you should have known. You should have.
That's the thing, man. Then once you get educated in this stuff, it's too late. They've already got a hold. You lose.
Yeah.
You know, when you start looking at this, the first time you start to look this up on Google after it's been, they just took your kid, you already lost. You should have already known about this. You should have known your rights. You should have known. And I'm not pointing the finger because I'm one of the people that weren't, but, you know, I'll be damned if I want anybody to sit back and have this happen to them because they were just stupid. They didn't want to take 10 minutes to learn 5 damn things that could have changed their fucking life forever. You know, that's it. The fact that you didn't want to sit down with the Constitution and be like, look, all I got to do is this. And that could have saved you being in this situation.
But I guarantee you can tell me what happened on the, Housewives of Atlanta, or what happened with the new video game that was going on, or this was going on in this trend, or all this other things. And check well out. Listen, being a parent is a full-time job. Keeping up with what's the next episode on Yellowstone, how's that going to save your kids? I'm sorry, but that's some cold hard truth. And I, once again, right is right, wrong is wrong, and everything in between is bullshit. Like my grandfather said, I ain't got to be nice to you, and your feelings are your responsibilities. Is your responsibility. These are the truths of life.
Yeah, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings.
Preparing your kids for what they're getting ready to do in adulthood. Guess who that's on? That's on you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
You know what? And it goes back to it. It goes to like this. If you were prepared because you came from a 2-parent home, not a broken home and everything, you might have learned these things. Because your education would have been better. You know, you get a better education. When you have 2 parents at home that are your parents, it's proven fact. The kids are learning better. They care more about their education. They do all this. What CPS want to do, they want to come in. They want to break up your family. They want your kids to not learn cursive. They want, because all this stuff, people don't forget. It's all under the same roof, Department of Human Services. So it's all under all of that shit, So don't ever forget the CPS is hand in hand with these people.
Yeah, and once again, these are as you saw the video that we first started with, these are Marxist principles. They belong to the community. They belong to the community. No, they do not. The Constitution says no. The Constitution says you have a right as parents to, you have a constitutional right to screw up your kid.
Yep.
100%. Because if they get a hold of them, you know what it's going to do? Perpetuate the same thing, the same lie, and they're going to go through slavery.
Well, the freaking problem is this, man. I'm telling you, there's one problem that can change all of this, and it's that freaking word neglect, man. If they could just, because how many people here in this audience and are here because of neglect? What the hell is neglect? Neglect what? Well, it's a very broad word that they use, man. And if that word was solid, like neglect means you weren't at your house on Thursday night at 9 with your child. So that's neglect. You weren't home with your kid. Something like that. Okay. But when they're just like, oh, you neglect, or they use the fucking crystal ball theory too. Well, it could happen. Well, how the hell, you know what I mean? Like, so you guys are coming at tactics that don't even make sense. You know what I mean? But yet we come at you with the law and the right answers and all of this stuff, and you get nicked off and you get your kid taken. That's what happens.
But see, this is the beauty of what's happening, and I'm so glad that it has actually finally turned after all this time, because for a long time I've realized things, and I know a lot of other people have too, most of my life. This is not right, because you read the Constitution, you really do. You understand it and this and that, and then it turns around. Well, states don't have to follow it. They deal with codes and statutes. Yeah, but they still have to follow the Constitution, but they're not. And they're getting away with it. And there was the biggest thing was like, now we're returning back to it of saying, because we, the people, are not sitting back on our laurels. We are not enjoying, this thing of, safety over freedom. Listen, if I have to spend the rest of my life with a pistol tucked up by my side or under my pillow or anything else and live free, I'll take that any day of the week. You want to give up your rights and everything else, that's fine. But now you're just a slave, and that is not what this country is for.
Right.
You should have the right to take a deal with it.
If they would teach you what that document truly means, man. I mean, people have given their lives. People swear their lives to the oath to this document. So it's not just like it's a document just to be thrown down and trampled on. Like that document means more than the flag, to these guys that swear their life and their oath to that Constitution. So this isn't just like a Chamonix wow paper. And that's what they're trying to make you think. These are your rights, man. These are what these forefathers came out and said. By no means will these words ever be changed. Yeah. They will never be altered. They will never nothing. These are rights that these people that live in this country will always have. It's their inalienable rights.
Alienable rights, yeah. God-given inalienable rights. I think the thing that scared me the most, not really scared me, but it made me really turn around and shake my head of how far it had gone, was during, the jabby jab lockdown of watching all the people turn into sheep. And I'm over here, and once again, I've been exposed to more and more education and training than most, but at the same time, I knew it was a lie. I knew every bit of the thing with the masks and the other day. I'm like, listen, I know respiration. I know this. I have to take OSHA classes on this stuff. So do most people that were in trades and everything else of what's allowed, what's not allowed, and what kind of equipment and PPE equipment and everything else. I mean, trust me, you get on some of the sites, the safety man, everybody hates the damn safety man because he's going to make sure you're compliant. Where's your glasses? You got the right boots on? You got this? Hey, you need the right particular gloves. Hey, you need to go draw another set of gloves because those are worn out. Hey, there's a rip in those. You can't wear this here and here. Hey, is that conducive with this code and this code? I mean, it's that serious when it comes down, but let alone you're talking about something that was supposedly so deadly. I'm like, wait a minute. COVID is mucus and lung-based anything. The swine flu, bovine flu, all those are all COVID-based things. So you're talking about and what's the new one? The razor blade version. I'm like, okay. And somebody said it probably the best, and I laughed. I go, so they go, so strep throat, huh? And I'm like, somebody hit the right on the head. So we've got a case of strep throat going on.
Yep. Yeah. Where'd the flu go, right?
Where'd the flu go? Where'd this go? And at the same time, where's all the natural remedies and everything? You had other people over here. I'm like, hey, if I've got this and that, you mix a little honey with this, you make a little hot toddy, and it was local honey and everything. Boom, you got homemade cough syrup. How was it any different than the stuff that has alcohol in it back in the day with Tussin DM and everything? It's the same thing, only a bunch of medicine stuff. And I'm like, I don't get it. But at the same time, that stuff sucks. And this other stuff, it actually works. I can keep going. And I think that's the thing too, is some of us didn't have the pleasure of having sick days or days you do cough. I didn't have that luxury. I don't know about other people, but as a master electrician and being in the field and some of the knowledge and certificates I had, I was considered a level 1 response person due to the fact that if any given time,
bottom or the very top?
The very top.
Oh,
that means if the military is called in,
sometimes level 1, level 1.
Yeah, level 1, level 2, level 3. The COVID thing was
so 3, 2, 1 is really the way you want to go. You're going to go 3, 2, 1. All right.
It just the way they classify it according to the the natural response stuff. But level 1 means that I can be requisitioned by either the state or federal government for my skills and knowledge at any given time. And basically going, hey, you've got a business or you've got this or anything else. Guess what? No, that closed down. Everything else slid down. You and your people now belong to us. That's how serious it was. And that was always the conversation when I had a conversation with a woman that worked at Walmart. She goes, well, I'm essential. I said, let me tell you something, darling. If you were essential, that would mean level 1. I says, at level 1, you stay home. You're locked down. You know who's doing your job? The National Guard. and they will take over the Walmarts, which is why Walmart, a lot of people don't understand, have a contract because of their distribution centers and their stores and everything for FEMA and or national responses and natural disasters, so on and so forth. They're set up for that because they're so big. And that was a lot of people don't understand that. Same way as I believe Lowe's is structured the same way for materials and so on and so forth for sourcing. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that you get people that just kind of laughed because you had people working at grocery stores, and I thought it was funny. And I'm not trying to be cruel, guys. I'm not. I'm really, really not. But I've got to tell it like it is. You had some people that would not be able to get a lot in the dating circle, that worked in a lot of Walmarts and grocery stores, did not date, did
No,
not
I mean,
have.
you could get people. You're going to get people that are, like, they're at
Well,
Walmart.
I'm just saying this particular genre, there was just a surplus because a lot of people, but that goes with demographics too. But all of a sudden, they weren't dating anybody and everything else. But then, after all the layoffs and everything on the COVID-19 come down, all of a sudden, they're all dating somebody because they couldn't work and somebody had to have money. And if you think and I think it's funny too, because if you think it's just women, there's guys out there that'll do the same thing. If you ain't got a job, sleep with somebody that's got a job. Why? To just save your butt. And
well, I mean, it's good. It's a good fallback.
Yeah. I mean, but I saw a lot of that. And then as soon as it was over, the old Lucky Lock was over. All of a sudden, everybody was heartbroken, and it was just like a mass exodus. And it happened the same way or the other. And I've seen this pattern. And I know some of you guys do too, especially if you went and you go to the local store, you go there every week or something like that to get your stuff. And if it's not a larger place, which we shop at a smaller market, not at Walmart. I do not shop there at Walmart, but at an actual grocery store.
Don't do the Walmart.
Yeah, I'm not. That is not my forte. I can't stand myself to even go in there. But that's my opinion. That is not the show's opinion. But once again, that's too many people. And after the things that some people have, some of the PTSD, large crowds are not my thing. And
you
Sharon
got PTSD at Walmart, dude?
Yeah, I can trigger at PA too much. Yeah. So it can get
You
bad.
didn't get trampled at one of those TV things, did you, at Black Friday?
No. Just people, too many people watching. And once again,
right. Yeah. Okay,
Walmart after dark, there's all sorts of things that happen, and you just have to have your head on a swivel. And once again, I didn't grow up in the nice, as most people would, I will say the caseworker that accused me if I was a white privileged ass. I was so far from white privileged, it wasn't funny. Not even close. Not even close. So a lot of the bad neighborhood, matter of fact, I thought it was funny, especially that, here was a person of color that was accusing me of being white privileged. And at the same time, I grew up on, the south side of the Chicagoland area, that he wouldn't even dare show his face around. He would shit his pants. Literally, if he came on my side of the tracks where I grew up. It just does not happen. So it tells you a lot of people that are prejudiced and judge a lot of people with certain things of saying, well, look at you, you have your own business, you've done this, you're all this, and it's a jealousy thing, let alone it was a hate crime. And for people to turn around that the color of your skin has to do something. Listen, I've known people that marched with Martin Luther King and everything else. And let me tell you something, there's some conversations and things they say about certain people, especially the fact that, it don't take a skin color to act a certain way. And it was an older man. Now listen, the old man that did this, he was probably in his 70s.
Boy, you're
and he marched with Martin Luther King and everything else. He goes, listen, it don't matter.
Who knows what he's going to say here?
What's that?
I'm just giving the warning out to watch what you're going to say here. I don't know.
No, I'm going to keep it there. The point is he said it had nothing to do with color, that had to do with frame of mind. It doesn't take somebody to have a poor frame of mind. It's regardless of color. Every race has somebody that acts a certain way that is not appropriate. And it's not part of, that they had done so better. And he was very upset because of some of the things he was seeing out of the younger generation that they had fought so hard for and marched for and done things for during the civil rights movement, that it just meant nothing to some people, and went right back in and even tried to educate them of, listen, we're trying to shake off the chains of tyranny, but in a way you're going back in it when you go back into social welfare systems and this, and you're not getting an education, and you're not busting your butt and working and trying to open your own businesses and this and that. He goes, that's another form of slavery. That was his opinion, and that was his viewpoint. But no, and once again, he goes, and it didn't matter. He says, every culture has got one, every race has got one, and you can look at it all across the world in every country, every continent, every demographic, every religion. Even religions have demographics and such like for that. And basically what it comes down to is that people are extremely lazy. And that is the biggest issue. He says, I don't understand, with all of this and more information and more freedoms and everything else, why somebody would be so lazy and complicit not to want more and get a chance at that true American dream. And understand, this old man worked with me, but also owned his own private business on top of it, doing taxes and CPA stuff on the side. So this man had hustle. This man had game. And he goes, I ain't gonna let nobody tell me or do anything else. I mean, he had a drive in him that he didn't see in the other generations, of saying, look how far we fought to give you those things that we didn't have. And I respected him for that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had a high respect for this man that made something of himself, that nobody gave him anything. Nobody did this or that. And he just worked his butt off and did what he could and educated himself and this and that, and found the thing he was comfortable in, his niche, and had a good life. Did he hustle all the time? Did he work? Yeah. But at the same time, when he wanted to go do something or take a vacation, there was no holds barred, man. That dude had cash. I'm going to go on a vacation, or I'm going to do this. I'm living it up. It's like, man.
Yeah, you got to hustle, man. You got to get that hustle on.
Phew. But it told me a lot, that it goes to the individual and the character of the person. And that's one thing I take away from that man. I try to learn something from everybody that I take an encounter. Good, bad, whatever it is. Either I learn a lesson to not do, or that. And that's the same thing I've always taught my children, that some people, exactly, we should all be doing that. We should challenge ourselves each day to learn something new, to keep our minds sharp. But that's one thing that we don't teach a lot of either, is respect.
No, that's going out.
And Sharon and I have talked about this on other levels and this and that. She said, I'm thinking about this and this and that. I go, yeah, but you're not going to do something like this, whatever the situation may be. I says, because you have too much honor and integrity. I can't see you doing that. And I respect her, for those things. Well, there's other people too, are just saying, I can't see you doing this or that because you have too much honor and integrity to not do the right thing. Or, that's like a lot of people say, well, Gunnar, you could have just done this and went after the actors and all this other stuff and got your money and ran and all this other stuff and blah, 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 and all these other things. I said, yeah, but it's not the right thing to do.
Right. That's the thing. We got to have morals. Morals have to stay a part of everything that we do.
And
because if you don't just have those basic, don't steal, don't, you know what I mean? Like that stuff that really taught us.
Lie, cheat, and steal.
Yeah. Like if you.
It goes deeper.
Have those things, and man, we're done, because that just gives us
I guess that's why it bothers me so much with some of the other things that especially you and I have talked about and seen, that other people that is involved in things similar to this, that burns me so bad. Of, I've never asked for a dime. I've never asked for anything other than to other people, especially with us, Danielle, you, Tiff, Chris, Sharon, all these people that are part of all those small group, and they've done nothing but help and assist. I know some of you guys have needed help with your affidavits and this and that. And Danielle has been right there, doing her best to help you guys with your affidavits, talking to you a little bit, sharing information. Tiff, she's out there on the front lines. I mean, I think this summer she's out doing rallies almost every weekend now, getting the word out, putting that thing, doing those things out there. Darren's back, doing the same thing, a little bit of support here and there with certain things, and then a lot of the legal and the research report and this and that and the different concepts and shooting down some of the other people's, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work, this should work, and calling it out for what it is. I mean, and just keeping everybody on the road of saying, hey, let's double check everything. And then, Chris is dealing with a lot up in, she's up in Illinois and stuff like that, where there's some mass damn corruption. I mean, oh my God. One county after another, it's like they take turns. It's like, tag, you're it.
Right.
That Sharon comes in, that is just the difference of all of us, that she's that soft, calming, quiet voice to recenter and focus and find some peace and heal. And amongst all this stuff, instead of, where I've seen with a lot of others, that it's just so, where's the healing? Where's the peace? Where, I hear a lot of the bitching and the moaning and this and that, but where's the true thing to where we take time out for ourselves and actually say, right, I've got to get in the right place. I've got to get in the right place for me. I've got to get in the right place for either my, my spouse or father or mother of my children. I've got to do the right thing. I have to do those things. And that goes for men and women both, that you need to get out of your fields and do the right thing. And listen, doing the right thing is probably more times than not, it's going to cost you something. But once again, that's where honor, integrity, and respect come in, that is not taught. If you're not an honorable person, I'm going to see you chicken out and not do the right thing and save your own skin. Like some of these things, hey, I just lost my kids, but hey, I'm ready to party. Who wants to go out and go out and party and go out to Vegas with my girls and have a girls' weekend? And this, that bothers me. And I can't stomach that. That's a POS person, in my opinion. You just lost your kids. The first thing you're going to do is go out and party or date or all this other stuff. I mean, it should ruin you. It should psychologically break you. And if it doesn't, there's something wrong with you psychologically, mentally, seriously. But I think just the multifacets, and I know a lot of people get upset, especially with, some of the different things. It's like, guys, we're a small team. We are not a 500 to 5,000 law firm, but you'll notice not one law firm has stepped up to do jack on this.
Right. We have enough people that are watching and listening to us that we should have had someone step up by now. And
it's games. It's distractions. It's puff ups. It's gaslighting. It's manipulation and all this other stuff. And we know that CPS has got people out there, following stuff and following us and our posts and trying to join groups and dismember and discourage people and play games against it. And they're specifically trained to do that. They're IT people. We know that the Bar Association has got attorneys and paralegals and everything else out there stirring up the thing. Why? Because it's going to cost them money. We know that the judges and everything else, they've got people that are doing this and going on. We've seen that happen even here in Blount County, especially with covering up for the stuff that happened with the teacher and then another teacher with something else that happened, and then find out that their significant other was sitting on the school board. I mean, it's just on and on and on. This is why public education, in my opinion, should never exist. You should teach your children at home. You should, should it follow some of these other, listen, you need to take them with you, with your, teaching everyday things, working on cars, doing measurements, growing food, cooking, everyday life skills and everything else. Whether they come out at 18, they don't have a clue what they're doing. They don't even know how to read or write hardly at all, and let alone in cursive. They don't understand contract, this, that. But we've got generations now that have no clue what their rights are, that now they're going to have to come to the realization that now when we're going through what we're going through, they don't recognize it. What is all this? That ain't right. I want this for free. This should be paid. This should be paid. Yeah, it is being paid free, and college is free for some people. You know where they are? They're all the illegals that are coming here, or the everybody and their brother from other countries that don't even like us are sending their kids in here. What do you think they're going to do? But guys, I hope this has helped you. When you get this letter, learn your own case, learn how to articulate what has happened to you, speak the legal terms. A lot of the stuff's in the letter, and turn it around and you're putting it back on them, even when you have to call in the feds, of saying, make the state prove it. There was none of this. This is exactly why we're testifying. There was no court order to enter. There was no warrant to enter. It was illegal entry, and they continue with the case. I can articulate that. If I had a case like that and I was a witness like that, that's exactly what I'm telling them. If not, it's up to the state. Prove it right now. Turn it over to the U.S. Attorney's Office and show the evidence that I'm wrong and that I'm still under your jurisdiction and you haven't committed a crime, which is exactly what I'm testifying that you're doing. And with this affidavit, that you have committed, constitutional rights violations, and you've been collecting money on it, and it's fraud. Every dime you've collected that you've had is fraud, because this is the case. Now you're going to be held accountable. This is what they fear, was this coming out. You know how much trouble we had going through writing this stuff, dealing with this and this and that. I mean, hell, Darren was down there in Georgia. We got the CPS Punisher and jacked him up real good.
Yep, real nice.
Oh, they know who the hell we are. What are you going to do? But see, once again, for us, it's not a choice. We have no choice, because we have honor and integrity, and we can't let this go on anymore. Not for our families, not just for our families, but for our children's families, for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. This will not go any farther than this generation. That's what we're telling
people out there that's with us. Everybody that's joining us, man. Everybody. This is for everybody, man.
So if you guys are part of other movements or anything else, get the word out. We are still early in the case. We haven't even gone to mediation yet. And I know you guys don't understand what that is. Before you go into an actual trial, they're going to mediate and say, hey, listen, we'd like to come to an agreement to do this and that. And that's where you settle out of court. We're not doing that. No, we're already working with the FBI and everything else. We can't legally do that because of what we've turned in and everything else so far. We can't legally sign a non-disclosure agreement or anything. I can't. Sharon can't. Well, this has been turned over not only to the Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office. It's also been turned over to the FBI. They're fully aware of what we're doing. They hear a lot of puffaluffa, a lot of hufflepuffing, I guess you'd call it, or whatever, out of a lot of other things. But the one that they're watching right now, we've got. I don't know about you, Darren, but listen, in the past 2 or 3 weeks, even longer, I've got other podcast stations, radio networks. I've got people running for governor, sheriff, all these other people, even people that are actively Senate, this and that. People watching what is going on. We've heard about what's going on all across, even out to California, Hawaii, all 50 states. They know what's going on. So does Alaska. Yep. It's not a joke. And now that this comes in and you guys start getting, and listen, guys, I want you to do me one favor. Please. One favor. When you get this stuff and you get your kids home, I don't want a video. I want you to send me a snapshot of you got your kids home with a thing of saying we did whatever else and this and that, and we got our children back. And we're so great, all this, I don't care if it says grateful or anything else. We want to show others and encourage others to continue on and fight that fight. And then you guys that do get your kids back, you guys support each other. This works not just with us. This works as we the people. Help each other with the affidavit. If you've done an affidavit and you see somebody in the comments or posts, you need help and you've worked with a chat bot or some of these other things and it says squirrel and other issues, this, that, help each other out getting those things in. Help them getting it, notarized, where to go, answering a few questions the best you can. This is about all of us together. But guys, when you start getting those kids home and you start putting, hey, I got my kids back. I stopped my case. I got them out of foster care, this and that, because of what we're doing and the way I articulated what I did about the specifics of my case, and make sure it was federal, told them it was federal witness tampering because you have my children and they're not in my custody and there's been no crime, right? There's all the case law and everything else you need. They're going to look at that. They're going to look at the letter and they're going to say, I hate to tell you, this is a federal outranks state. And that's exactly what you're doing, is you're saying they've stolen your kid and kidnapped your kid, and they're holding them to coerce or intimidate you and rob you and all those different things. But once again, get the emotion out of it, articulate clear and clean, and keep it simple. As they say, the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. That's to yourself. Right. But guys, we've had an awesome time tonight. Darren, thanks again, man, for being on here and just helping us out.
Just put some things up in your thing for you.
Hey, look.
So,
you see those graphics I put up there for you?
Yeah. Which ones?
Yeah.
I got under design.
Yeah. Is it under design? Is that where it is?
I don't know. I got that one, and then I got a video clip you said to put on last week that we're going to close out with, a new video clip that we have.
Okay.
But yeah, you've got a new video in there. That was I think it was the CPS intro you put on there, or exit. We got that music. If not, yeah, I know you're busy with a lot of that other stuff. Guys, just keep going, help each other, love on each other, encourage each other. If you're having issues, please reach out to somebody. It's not worth it. We're almost there, guys. It's time to start putting the fight to them and holding their feet to the fire and holding them accountable. It's game on now, guys. And like I said, we've got your sworn affidavit. I've looked it over. It goes to that. Once this is all notarized and signed, you will get copies of those sent out to you. Do not share those with anybody, because if somebody gets caught using that, and I do not have a copy of that affidavit, and you claim that, that's going to be on you, and that's going to catch you up in some charges you don't want to have. So keep it above board, keep it real, and don't forget our spinoff show, and of course my lovely wife, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Beauty and Ashes, that deals with the psychological and mental health of everybody, including preparing for when the kids to come home. Great show. You don't want to miss it. There's a lot in there. But guys, we'll see you next week. Keep up the fight and just stay tuned to the channels. We'll have more and more. And don't forget to check out the Tiff and Punisher show on Monday night at what time? 7:30?
7:15, 7:30, yeah.
7:15, 7:30. And they're going to go over the Void Ab Initio. Have a copy of that for you with the same thing else, nullifying everything. And even though they won't take it, I guarantee you a federal court knows what it is. Oh, you're fighting in a whole different level. Game up, guys. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you next week. And catch out our other shows. And don't forget to hit the likes and follows on YouTube. And spread the word.
Yes,
here we go.
All right.